it's Chantel with Wildberry Quilting, and today we are going to be sewing the Spring Flags quilt. Originally, I wasn't going to do this one, but I had a lot of requests for how to do the triangles on a roll, and I figured if I was going to show you guys that, we might as well just do the whole quilt. So let's get started. All right, guys, we've got our triangles on a roll and everything is set up and ready for us to stitch. Now, if you are wondering how to do these triangles on a roll, they are very simple. You'll probably get a good idea from this video of how to do them, but I go into more detail of how to cut them and everything in the video that I just put out of how to triangles on the roll tutorial. I think that's actually what it's titled. Actually, truth be told, I titled the video that when I was making it, and then I forgot to add a title when I was uploading it to YouTube. So that is just, YouTube will automatically title it whatever your file name is. So that is just the file name, and I did not go through and think up the title for the video. By the time I realized it, it was already getting views, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just leave it how it is. People must be finding it. You guys must be seeing it somehow, so it makes me very grateful that I actually take the time to name the files, though. Could you imagine if I didn't and it was just named something like 3487 Canon or something like that? Just whatever my camera wanted to name it when it uploaded it to the computer. That would be really kind of sad. You guys would see that and you'd be like, what is that video? That is not the first time I've done that either. Honestly, you could probably usually tell when I have done that, and I haven't actually named the video. It just received the file name based on how it is capitalized. Because if I'm doing it as a video, if I've titled my video, I usually capitalize each word. Whereas if I'm just saving it as a file, the first word might be capitalized, but the rest of them are just written normally. I don't know why I do it that way. It's just, for some reason, that's how I do it. I just got the fabulous house block in the mail today, and I did that video, so that will actually come out before this one does. So if you guys haven't watched that yet, make sure you head over and check that out. It was super cute. We actually got the Hobbit house this month, which I must say, I think that's one of the ones that I was most excited to see what it was going to look like. That just sounds so cool to me. And it really does look cool. It is adorable. I can't wait to stitch that one. I'm still working on Cottage. Is that what the one is that I'm working on? The one that came out in March. I still have a little bit more to do on that. Okay, well, I have a lot more to do on it, honestly. But I'm probably at least halfway done, probably a little bit more than that. And it is looking so cool. I really like that one. Honestly, I've really liked them all. I think they've all been really good. I think my least favorite one was the castle one, but even that was really cool. They were all just, I can't wait to see what else she's got planned. I know that there's a Halloween one. It's like a haunted house or something, I think. But of course, we don't know what any of those are going to look like yet because she hasn't released them. She's only released the names of them. So everything's a mystery up until this point. Up until the point that you get them. I think technically I could go online and look at her website and see them before they arrive in the mail to me. But I'd rather it be a surprise. So it's just more fun that way. You know, I remember when I was a teenager, some of my friends were doing things like cross stitch, and I was just not at all interested in cross stitch. Sewing, yes, but cross stitch, not so much. But now all of those, I don't know. Now it's just become such a I like it so much now. When I was a kid, I was not that interested. I was not interested at all. And I don't think I really liked the way that the pictures were made up with little X's. But now I think that's part of the charm that I love so much about them. So, go figure. So, I've started looking at some of the smaller YouTube channels out there. I guess I've always kind of watched some of the smaller ones, but some of the much smaller ones now. Before I was looking at maybe 10,000 subscriber type YouTube channels, and now I've kind of started to fall into looking at some of ones where people only have a few hundred subscribers, and there are some gems out there. So one of the newer channels that I've been watching, I believe she's either called Joyful Home or Joyful Home Presents. And she does a lot of the same types of videos that I do. And she just seems like a lovely, sweet lady. And I just wanted to give her a quick shout out and maybe send some of you guys over to visit her because I know she's one of my subscribers, so she may even end up seeing this herself. But I know she's trying really hard to get her channel off the ground, and you guys would probably enjoy checking out her videos because she definitely seems like a sweetheart. Man, I had to pause this particular take so many different times because of different issues, and one of them sent me on a bobbin filling spree because just when I started getting going, my bobbin ran out, and I went to replace it with another white bobbin, and apparently I haven't filled white bobbins in a while because I didn't have any left. So I ended up filling up like 7 bobbins with white thread so that I won't have to fill again for a little while, hopefully. It got me thinking though, I wonder how often everybody else does bobbin filling sprees like that, and how many bobbins you typically fill at once when you're doing that. Or do you just go all at once, as you need them? Oh, ran out of white thread, fill a single bobbin. I used to do that way back. Well, I guess I shouldn't say way back. I used to do that when it was just regular sewing, clothing, garment sewing and stuff. And I wasn't sewing quilts, because then when you're garment sewing, you're really just using a single thread for a project, a single color of thread for a project. And then you switch it off to a different one. And maybe you'll use 3 different colors of thread in the same project. It's rarely ever just white thread all the way along. But with quilting, the majority of your piecing is all just white thread. So it makes more sense to thread a bunch of bobbins all at the same time. I could probably sit here and do like 20 bobbins of white thread, and then I wouldn't have to fill them up for a really long time. But I don't have the patience for that or the time. I get maybe 3 of them done and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to get back to sewing. So doing 7 of them this time was really a lot for me. That's a lot more than what I normally do. That one's already done completely. All right, I'm ready to go cut these apart. I will see you back here in a minute and with a bunch of finished half square triangles. All right, I've got everything trimmed, cut, and pressed. So now we are taking the two of the matching half square triangles and putting them together like this to meet the points on our flag. I don't really remember what we were talking about last. After going through and getting all of these prepped and eating lunch and everything, or getting the kids lunch anyways. I wasn't really that hungry, so I didn't eat anything yet. But I just cannot remember what it was I was talking about. Oh well. I am working on another quilt in addition to this one. Okay, truth be told, I'm working on quite a few in addition to this one. But let's see, what all do I have going at the same time? We've got this. I've got the Midnight Rose Garden quilt kit, which I'm also going to I'm going to be doing a video for that as well, or probably a whole series of videos, because that one has a lot of steps, so there's a lot there. I'm also working on the Barnstar quilt, so that's 3 quilts so far. And working on the Oak Grove Square quilt, so that's 4 quilts. If you count quilts that I have completed the quilt top but not done the quilting on, then I've got 5, because I still have not gone through and completed the Dinah quilt yet. That one needs to be completed. I'm not exactly sure how I plan to quilt that one, which is part of the reason why I have not done that yet. I have a tendency that when I am doing quilting, that if it's a quilt with a central motif, then I go through and I do something different and unique around that to try to accentuate it. And then it has a lot of other different things going on. Kind of a combination of different quilting on there. But then when I am doing a quilt where it's a lot of the same repetitive blocks, I tend to just pick one all over quilt design for that. And it's not really a conscious decision to do that. It's just how I naturally end up doing it. And I didn't even realize that at first. It was something that I I think it was while I was making the Mikasa quilt and quilting that I realized I have a tendency to do that. But I'm also not sure how I would go about doing one of those all over quilt design, with just a lot of similar blocks without doing something like that. Because that's just not what my brain normally gravitates to doing. I just automatically start doing something that's all over. I've seen some of these free motion quilts that are kind of like Zentangles almost, and they just organically flow into a completely different quilting design as you go. And I think that is just stunning when people are able to do that. But I don't know, I can't wrap my head around it enough to where I feel comfortable enough to try doing it. But I guess I need to sit down with like something small, like a placemat, and just try it and see what happens. So now I've got C and M, and they are just supposed to be widths of fabric and then sewn together. Now my M, I did not have the fabric that was depicted in the quilt, so I just picked a random black because it's supposed to be the flagpole, and honestly I've never seen a blue flagpole anyways, so I think black is just fine. And I'm just going to, ideally it would be gray, but I don't have any gray, so I'm just going to sew this to the top of my C pieces. And boy, is that black shedding a lot. Black and white next to each other just creates some chaos, doesn't it? It's just shedding all over the place. But that's okay. We'll get through it. And then once this is sewn together, then it's a lot of subcutting on this to make it the top and bottom of flagpoles. Which I always kind of like doing this, where you sew a larger, a bunch of larger pieces together, and then you subcut it down. I feel like it's kind of like cheating, like you're getting away with something that you aren't supposed to. That's terrible, but that's kind of how it feels, because you're sewing one seam, or in some cases maybe 3 seams or something, but then you're getting something that looks like you sat there and sewed together 100 seams. It's just so clever. I like things that are clever like that. I like maximizing the effect with minimal effort. I think that's one of the things that really appealed to me so much about quilting is that there's so many different ways that you can actually do that. You can maximize the effect while minimizing the effort. And I guess I kind of feel like it's an exercise for the brain to figure out how to do that, how to make that work where you can do the least amount of work to get the most amount out of it and make it look like you did way more than you actually did. I don't know. Am I alone in thinking that? I doubt it. There's got to be other people who feel that same way. Do you feel that way? Because so as I was saying, I have like 5 quilts that well, 4 quilts that I'm working on. 5 that, if you count the one that is a finished quilt top. Oh my gosh, what is a quilt top? I can't talk. Finished quilt top. Then there's 5. And the thing is there's still so many quilts that I want to start. I want to start them and I want to work on them all. And there's just not enough time in the day to work on all of them. I still need to make the quilt that I'm supposed to be making for my mother-in-law. I have not started on that yet. And I planned to start on it back last fall. But instead I had requests to do sew-alongs for the Oak Grove square quilt. So I was working on that and I thought I would be able to get that done, without taking too long and then get started on hers, but that one has really just ate up a lot of time. So now I have my A blocks and these are all pressed open and I'm going to attach them to the sides to make the flags. So I've been trying to think about what I was planning to do with this quilt, and because it wasn't one that I was originally planning to make. It's cute, but it's just not, I don't know, it's not one that screams my personality. So I'm still not 100% sure what I plan to do with it. I might just let this be one of those couch quilts that the kids can play with and cuddle up in, and I don't have to worry about if they just got done eating pizza. Because, when I'm spending a whole lot of time making a quilt that I love, then I'll be disappointed if it gets dirty in the first week after making it. This one is actually a lot of fun to make, and I'm enjoying making it. I'm glad that I did decide to make it. But it's like I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with it when it's done. And, one thought was that I could just keep it as off to the side for when I know somebody who's having a baby, because it is a great size. It would be a great size for a baby quilt. It is 51.5 by 62.5, so it could be a throw size, but it could also be a baby quilt. And this would be perfect for somebody who is having a little boy. And sometimes boy quilts are not the easiest to come up with. I mean, it's always fun to make baby quilts, but it would be very helpful to have on hand for the next situation where somebody's having a little baby and maybe I don't have an opportunity to sew them something right away. Or, like I said, I could let my kids go at it on the couch and then they'll not steal mine as much, hopefully. The quilt that I cuddle with on the couch all the time is the Mikasa quilt, which also came from a sewsampler box. And I also have videos of the making of that one. But I happen to really like that quilt. I like the fabric, I like the pattern, and I think it came out really good. So my camera battery died and I have no idea how much, if any, you saw of me sewing together these flag pieces. But we are now onto the step where we are sewing the top of our flagpoles to them. I was just sitting here chatting away, having a good old time, telling you guys about all kinds of things, and y'all weren't even here for any of it because I was just talking to myself. My camera had died and it didn't even let me know. It didn't even have the courtesy to beep at me or anything. Oh goodness. I know that part of what I was talking about was just trying to figure out what I was going to do with this quilt. And, you know, just out of the box, I liked it. It was cute, but it wasn't, I just didn't necessarily see myself as needing a pennant flag quilt in my life. But I'm really glad though that I took the time to start sewing it because it's actually a really fun quilt to sew. And if you got it in your box, I definitely suggest, even if it's not one that speaks to you, I suggest going ahead and sewing it because it's just a fun sew. And you can always use it as a baby quilt or something. Put it on the side, save it for the next person that you know having a baby. Especially for a baby boy, it's perfect. Seems very sports thing. It's not really sports thing. I guess the pennant flags make me think of sports. But it's also got like the farmer stuff and it could be for a girl too. I mean, we got some of these flowers. They're not very feminine flowers, so it still works for a boy, but it could be boy or girl. It's a good quilt for if somebody is having a baby, especially if it's someone who does not plan to find out whether they're having a boy or girl. Why does that not want to go over? Okay. Little piece being stubborn. Try to make sure I'm still sewing everything the right way because that piece being stubborn makes me think, wait, nothing else is stubborn. Did I get something turned around? Oh. I don't think so. I think it was just a stubborn piece. I like this flag. That one's cool. The little crosses on it. I've got to say, there was a lot of leftover scraps after cutting out these pennant flags. That's what I'm going to call them, as pennant flags, because that's what they make me think of. Whether that's actually what they should be called or not. But there was a lot of leftover scraps from this, and you could certainly use that to make some scrappy project. Maybe do a pillowcase or something to go with this, or use it for a project bag. Make a scrappy project bag. Hey, that's something we should do, is a tutorial for a scrappy project bag. I've got the one, I have a tutorial out already for a project bag, but I could also take you through doing a scrappy one if you guys are interested. I love those project bags. They just come together so quick and easy, and it's so much fun to see what all you can make up with them. Ooh, look at that flag. I like that one. That one's pretty. That's the one that I said looked like tractor tires, or I was trying to say it was tractor tires because of all the other ones being farm related, or a lot of them being farm related. I don't know. Doesn't really look like tractor tires, but it is really cute. I like that as the flag. Sometimes I will sew together a quilt just to, I don't know. It may not be speaking to me specifically, and I'm too attached to my favorite fabrics to cut them up and use them yet. So I will pick some of my lesser favorite fabrics to do. That's terrible, right? And I will sew it up thinking that I'm not gonna care about the quilt that much. And then by the time I get to the quilting phase, I just really start falling in love with it, and that quilt just becomes one of my favorites. That happened with one that I made for my daughter, for one of my daughters. She had, I like that too. That's pretty. I made her one with some Layla Boutique fabric, and it wasn't one of her lines that really called to me, but I'd gotten it in a project box and a sampler, not a sampler part. It wasn't a sew sampler. It was, I think it was one from Pre-Cut's Quilt Shop. And I just wanted to make a quilt, but not cut into my favorite fabric or something. I don't know. And I went ahead and made it up, and I got to the quilting portion of it, and I had completely fallen head over heels for the quilt. It was gorgeous. And the quilting just, you know, adds to that, of course, because it's like you're watching the quilt come alive with each stitch. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's nice sometimes to quilt at least some of your own quilts. It's fine to send them off to long armors. I know it is not always the most joyful part of the quilting experience for a lot of people, and I certainly don't begrudge anybody sending them off to a long armor. I can completely understand, but I think it is good to at least sometimes quilt some of your own things, just so that you can have that experience of watching it come to life as you're working on it, which we kind of see that happen some anyways when we're working on the quilt tops. But I don't know, I think it's kind of magnified when you're working on the quilting part of it, because then you're seeing all of the puffs and the, you know, the character that gets put into it. Because I do think that a lot of the character of a quilt comes from the quilting itself. So that is definitely something that I think every quilter should experience at least once, is quilting at least one of your own quilts. Who knows? You might decide you really enjoy it. All right, guys, I think we're going to call it there for today, and we will continue with part 2 of the Spring Flags quilt in the next video. So I'll see you again next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to hit like and subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.